Erica Dawson, 49, had spent more than half her life being a wife, a mother, and the quiet keeper of a home that once overflowed with love. Her husband, James, 53, was once charming and full of life, the kind of man who made her laugh until her stomach hurt. But that was years ago. Now, their suburban home was filled not with laughter, but with the hum of the television and the clinking of James's beer bottles. Their 2 children had already moved out, leaving behind an emptiness that grew louder with every passing day. Erica worked part-time at a small bookstore downtown. She loved the smell of old pages and the quiet hum of the place. It was her small escape from the dullness of home. Still, she believed love could be repaired if one tried hard enough. But sometimes, love doesn't die suddenly. It fades quietly, while you're not looking. Every morning began with the same dull rhythm. Erica would wake first, make coffee, fry eggs, and set the table for 2. James rarely joined her before noon. When he did, he shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes and muttering about how tired he was, though Erica couldn't remember the last time he'd actually done anything to be tired from. She packed his lunch anyway, even though she knew most days he'd just stay home. The couch had become his throne, the remote his scepter. When the mail came, Erica sorted through bills and reminders while James called from the living room. "Did you pay the power bill?" "Yes, James. I always do." "Good," he'd mumble, already half asleep again. Sometimes, she tried to talk to him, about the kids, the neighbors, or even a new book she was reading. But he'd barely nod, his eyes fixed on the flickering screen. Evenings were worse. The house echoed with silence and static, the air thick with words never said. Erica often found herself staring at their wedding photo, the young, laughing couple who once promised forever. She'd touch the glass and whisper, "Where did we go wrong?" Still, she stayed. Out of habit. Out of hope. Out of fear of starting over. Then, one quiet Saturday morning, as she was folding laundry, the phone rang. James answered it, his tone suddenly soft, almost tender. Erica froze as she heard him say, "Good morning, darling. I was just thinking about you." Her heart stopped. He had never called her darling in years. That moment, that single word, would shatter 25 years of silence. The sound of his voice was the first thing that broke her morning peace. Erica was standing by the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee, one for her, one for him, when she heard it. Soft. Warm. The kind of voice she hadn't heard from James in years. "Yes, darling. I miss you too. Can't wait to see you tonight." Her fingers went numb. The coffee trembled in her hands, spilling onto the floor, but she didn't notice. She could only hear the sound of her husband, the man she had spent half her life with, whispering words that no longer belonged to her. When James turned around, his smile disappeared. "Erica. Who were you talking to?" Her voice was calm, too calm. The kind of calm that comes before a storm. He hesitated, phone still in his hand. "No one. It was just—" "Don't lie," she said. "Say her name." James's shoulders slumped. The fight left his body before it began. "Her name is Claire," he said quietly. She makes me feel alive again." For a moment, time stopped. "Alive?" Erica whispered, her voice cracking. "I gave you 25 years, James. 25 years of meals, bills, kids, sleepless nights, and you call her life." He looked down, unable to meet her eyes. "I'm sorry. I didn't plan for this to happen. But we both know things haven't been right for a long time." Erica laughed, a hollow, broken sound. "Not right? Because I took care of you? Because I didn't give up on us when you already had?" He sighed, defeated. "I can't do this anymore, Erica." She stared at him for a long moment, the man she once loved, the man who once promised forever, standing before her like a stranger. Then she pointed to the door. "Then don't." James didn't argue. He didn't beg. He simply packed a single suitcase, took one last look around the house, and left. When the door closed, the silence that followed was deafening. Erica sank to the kitchen floor, surrounded by the faint smell of coffee and betrayal. The TV was still on in the other room, playing one of his old shows, laughter echoing through an empty house. She looked toward the sound, tears blurring her vision, and whispered, "Enjoy your life, James. I hope she makes you feel alive." For the first time in years, she realized, she wasn't angry because he stopped loving her. She was angry because she had stopped loving herself. For days, Erica lived in silence. She wandered through the house like a shadow, moving from room to room without purpose. The scent of his aftershave still lingered in the hallway. His slippers still sat by the door. Every trace of him remained, except the man himself. She cleaned things that were already clean, folded towels that didn't need folding, and told herself that if she kept busy, maybe the ache in her chest would fade. It didn't. At night, she couldn't sleep. The bed felt too big, the house too quiet. She replayed every moment of their 25 years, the wedding, the vacations, the nights they stayed up talking about dreams that never came true. Then she remembered his voice, soft and cruel. "She makes me feel alive." That sentence became a wound she couldn't close. Alive. As if she had been the death in his life. Weeks passed before she saw him again. James appeared at her door one rainy afternoon, hair unkempt, eyes tired. He looked smaller somehow, older, defeated. "Erica," he said quietly, "I made a mistake." She didn't move. He stepped closer, his voice trembling. "She left me. I lost everything. I shouldn't have walked away from you. Please, can we start over?" For a moment, her heart betrayed her. It remembered the man she once loved, the man who made her laugh until she cried. But when she looked closer, she saw what he had become. A man who ran when love got hard. A man who only came back because he was alone. Her eyes softened, but her voice stayed firm. "No, James. You already started over, just not with me." He tried to speak, but she raised a hand. "I spent too many years saving you from your own laziness, your silence, your indifference. I won't save you from your choices too." The next morning, she placed the divorce papers on the kitchen table. He stood there, eyes wet, unsure what to say. Erica didn't cry. She had already done enough of that. When he signed, she whispered, "Thank you." It wasn't bitterness. It was release. As the door closed behind him for the last time, Erica felt something unexpected. Not grief, not anger, but peace. For the first time in 25 years, the house wasn't empty. It was hers. After James left for good, the house felt unfamiliar, too quiet, too still. The ticking clock became her only companion. The sofa, once occupied by his sleeping body, now sat empty, a symbol of everything she had lost and everything she had endured. Loneliness came first, heavy, suffocating, cruel. But slowly, quietly, something else followed. Peace. There were no more half-hearted apologies, no more waiting for someone who never showed up. No more walking on eggshells to avoid another argument. The silence that once terrified her began to feel like freedom. Still, there were nights when tears came uninvited. She would find herself staring at their old photos, wondering when exactly love had slipped away. Maybe it wasn't sudden. Maybe it had been leaving one small piece at a time. Every time he ignored her, every time she forgave him too easily. She missed him, but not the man he became. What she truly missed was the woman she used to be, the one who believed that love could fix everything. One evening, Erica sat at the kitchen table with her cup of tea, the same way she had every night for 25 years. But this time, something was different. She opened her old journal and began to write. "I spent 25 years patching holes in a boat that was already sinking. Maybe it's time I learned to swim." The words made her pause, then smile through the tears. It was the first genuine smile she'd had in months, fragile but real. And in that moment, Erica realized something powerful. She wasn't broken. She was simply unfinished. Months turned into seasons, and slowly, Erica's world began to bloom again. At first, it was small things. She started walking every morning, breathing in the fresh air instead of the stale scent of old memories. She painted her living room a lighter color, filled it with plants, and gave away James's old armchair, the one that had become his throne of laziness and her prison of resentment. For the first time in years, the house felt like hers. She joined a local yoga class and signed up for an art workshop at the community center. It felt strange at first, being surrounded by strangers, People who didn't know her as James's wife, but simply as Erica. She laughed more. She started dressing in colors again, blues and greens that made her eyes shine. Her daughter Lily visited one Sunday afternoon. "Mom," she said softly, "you seem different. Happier." Erica smiled. "Maybe I'm finally remembering who I am." It wasn't easy. There were still moments when the past tugged at her heart. The quiet nights, the empty chair at the dinner table, the smell of his old aftershave lingering in forgotten corners. But she no longer let those moments define her. One spring afternoon, while sketching at a cafe near the park, she met Thomas, a gentle, silver-haired man reading a book of poetry. They started talking about art, travel, and the best seaside towns to visit. He was a widower, calm and thoughtful, with a smile that reminded her life could still be kind. Their conversations stretched into hours, and their laughter filled spaces she thought were gone forever. Erica didn't rush into anything. She wasn't looking for a savior, just connection. And somehow, love found her anyway, quietly, patiently, without demand. She realized that rebirth doesn't come from erasing the past. It comes from forgiving it. Forgiving the years she lost. Forgiving the man who hurt her. And most of all, forgiving herself for holding on too long. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, she whispered to herself, "I thought my story ended when he left. But really, it just began." 2 years later, Erica stood on a balcony by the sea, the sound of the waves blending with the rhythm of her steady heartbeat. The sun was rising, soft and golden, painting the sky with colors she once thought she'd never see again. Beside her sat Thomas, quietly reading a book with a cup of coffee in hand. When he glanced up and smiled, she smiled back. A real smile, effortless and warm. "For the first time in my life," she whispered, "I feel free." The woman who had once been trapped in silence now lived in laughter, in the scent of salt air, in the simple joy of being alive. She had learned that freedom wasn't about escaping someone. It was about finding yourself again after losing everything. Sometimes, she still thought of James. Not with anger, but with understanding. Those 25 years had taught her patience, endurance, and what it truly meant to love, even when love fades. The pain had shaped her, but it no longer defined her. Erica had become her own story, not the victim of betrayal, but the author of rebirth. Her life now was peaceful, filled with art, travel, friendship, and the quiet comfort of knowing she could begin again at any age. Her story wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was about transformation. She turned to Thomas and said softly, "Sometimes, the ending you fear the most is the beginning you've always needed." Then she faced the sea and let the wind carry away the last remnants of her past. Would you have the courage to start over if life broke your heart? If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more emotional English stories.